Source International, I would like to thank you for joining us today. We are very excited to have you join us on this highly engaging and informational webinar. I would like to take a moment and introduce today's guest speaker, a professional speaker and CEO of Brand Integrity, Gregg Lederman. Gregg Lederman has become known as an authority for engaging your workforce to deliver a consistently profitable customer experience. Over the past decade, more than 50% of his clients were noted on best places to work lists, either in their region, industry, or on the Fortune 100 Best Companies to Work For annual ranking. Gregg is a high-energy, dynamic speaker who can help you solve the mystery to engaging employees to deliver a branded experience for customers. In addition to being a keynote speaker, Gregg is the author of the two-time award-winning book, Achieve Brand Integrity. Achieve Brand Integrity has been recognized as the best independently published business book in the categories of leadership, HR, and training. He is also the author of Engaged, How to Get the Workforce to Outbehave the Competition and Delight Customers, which is being published in the months ahead. Gregg is also an adjunct professor at the William E. Simon Graduate School of Business at the University of Rochester, where he teaches executive MBAs, the 8 principles of Engaged that you will learn today. Please welcome Gregg Lederman.
Thanks, Pat. As Pat mentioned, I'm Gregg Lederman. I'm the CEO of Brand Integrity and your tour guide today on how to outbehave the competition, 8 principles bank leaders need to know. I'm glad you've joined us. Before we get started, a few things to know. This will be fast-paced, yet, as Pat mentioned, highly interactive. We'll have some short Q&A at the end, but if you have questions in the meantime, feel free to fire them off. For all the questions we don't have time to field on the webinar, we'll make arrangements to field them in the days ahead. And the reality of a webinar is I can't see you, you can't see me. It's my job to keep you engaged every step of the way with outstanding content. I am prepared to do just that. I promise to give you a ton to think about. I'm going to provide you frameworks, facts, and thought-provoking questions to take back to your management group, get others thinking about whether your bank is living the brand every day and outbehaving the competition. Every bank, no matter what the geographic location or business climate, can engage employees to deliver a consistently great customer experience, leading to increased sales and profits. When they embrace the concept of living the brand as a day-to-day management practice. My firm, Brand Integrity, has been working with successful professional service firms for more than a decade to help them become both great places to work and to deliver consistently great experiences. As Pat mentioned, more than 50% of our clients are on a best place to work list. These clients have a few things in common. One in particular is they have a living the brand system that enables them to engage their entire workforce and their customer base. As part of this living the brand system, they do 3 things very, very well. First, they define the branded experience. Not just words on paper, they define the behaviors that bring their branded experience to life. Second, they remind the workforce. They become masterful at getting all employees to understand what that definition is. They remind their employees about the delivery of the experience, clearly setting expectations, communicating it, and holding everyone accountable. And third, they quantify that experience and link it to critical financial results. A living the brand system is needed to create engaged employees who will outbehave the competition. Engaged employees who consistently delight your bank customers. With the time you're investing today, you will learn what leading banks and professional service organizations are doing to define a branded experience, remind the workforce daily, and quantify the results with measurement that link directly to the banking metrics that matter most to your organization. Some of the insights I'm going to share will come from my first book, Achieve Brand Integrity. Most will come from the new book that's coming out in 2013 called Engaged, How to Get the Workforce to Outbehave the Competition and Delight Customers. The Engaged book and my speaking programs are uniquely suited for the banking industry, and here's why. Banks are all selling the same raw material, money. Banks find themselves to be selling a commodity. You're all selling the same thing. Or you can easily copy each other and sell the same products and services. So really, the only true differentiator for each of your respective businesses is the employee-driven, branded experience. Branded experience is a term you need to know, as I'm going to reference it a lot, so you may want to jot this down. A branded experience is an experience designed for employees and customers based on a common mindset and proprietary behaviors that are clearly documented, trained, measured, and reinforced. Once again, a branded experience is an experience designed for employees and customers based on a common mindset and proprietary behaviors that are clearly documented, trained, measured, and reinforced. Let me share with you an example of a branded experience from my last day at the Courtyard Marriott. I arrived in Philly. I was exhausted, ready to kick back and relax before an early start the next day where I was speaking at a conference. I got in bed around 8 o'clock, and sure enough, the remote control did not work. So I picked up a book, read for a little bit, went to sleep, and as I was exiting the next morning, as I walked by the front desk, I just mentioned to the reception person, hey, any chance I can get a new remote in room 204? Mine's not working. When I got back from my speaking engagement, I had some time before my flight home. I went back to my room, and I was greeted by a brand new remote, a personalized note, and 2 candy bars. I wanted to take a moment and apologize for the TV remote issue you had with your room. I want you to know that we went ahead and purchased 3,000 Marriott reward points for you. This is a branded experience. It's completely staged. It's a way for the staff at the Courtyard Marriott to go above and beyond and let a customer know we care, and it costs so little to do. Time for our first poll. What organizations are doing a branded experience for you? If you could answer that question, that'd be terrific. What organizations are doing a branded experience for you? I'll help you think this through. Close your eyes. Wait. First, make sure no one's looking into your office or about to walk in. The only thing more weird about me asking you to close your eyes on a webinar would be if someone sees you closing your eyes on a webinar. Close your eyes for a minute. Think about companies you'd love to do business with because their people live the brand every day. It's clear to you that the employees of this company you're thinking about know what the branded experience is, and most importantly, they consistently do this experience. This company you're thinking about, they're outbehaving their competition, which results in an engaged workforce and more engaged customers. They witness incredible customer loyalty, incredible employee loyalty. Customers buy more often. They're less price sensitive. Employees recognize them as a great place to work. They're productive. They just seem happy. This company you're thinking of, they're managing an experience for employees and customers. They are truly living the brand. You love to do business with them so much, you reward them with the ultimate compliment, your referral. You tell others they should do business with this company. In essence, you become their unpaid marketing department. You help them get more customers. What companies come to mind? Amazon. Someone says Amazon. They make it so easy to return product. Make sure you tell me why when you type in the company. Nordstrom. They remember me. My bank. They take time to get to know me. USAA Insurance. They are incredibly friendly, eager to help, always end the call asking, can I help you with anything else? How about this one, Apple? When I walk into the store looking to buy a Mac, the salesperson said, I would love to help you buy a Mac. Can I ask you a few questions so that we make sure not to sell you more than you need? The act of asking that question is from the Apple genius in the store. Can I ask you a few questions so you don't buy more than you need? Eliminates trust. That's an example of a behavior that drives a branded experience. Each of these companies that are being mentioned probably have many things in common. One for sure is they have engaged employees. That is how they're able to create engaged customers that love to do business with them. All right, let's get into the 8 principles to engage to help your bank outbehave the competition. An engaged workforce is made up of employees who are committed and motivated to act in the best interest of your bank. Engaged customers, they fall in love with your bank. They're more loyal, they proactively tell others about you, and are more willing to increase their portfolio of products and services. As you will learn, the benefits of increasing the engaged level of your workforce and your customers are easy to see and very difficult to refute. write down this definition of engaged, as you're going to need it as we go through the rest of our time together. Someone is engaged when they are motivated and committed to act in the best interest of your bank. Again, someone is engaged, truly engaged, when they are motivated and committed to act in the best interest of your bank. In a few minutes, we're going to get into specific ways to measure how engaged groups of employees are throughout your bank. Principle number 1, get every employee on stage delivering the experience for customers. Do employees at your bank realize they're on stage performing a branded experience? Do the branch managers and department managers realize they're not only responsible for doing the branded experience, but they also need to evaluate the performance? When your entire workforce realizes that they're delivering a branded experience, then you, at that point, have increased your chances of fulfilling the purpose of your bank. What is the purpose of any company? This was going to be a poll, but I decided not to make it a poll. Why? Because I already know the answer I'm going to get. I've been asking this question to audiences for the better part of the last decade, and I get the same answer every time. People yell out, make money, make a profit, as the purpose of the company, and it's not. The purpose of the company is to get and keep customers, to get and keep profitable customers. If you get and keep profitable customers, then you achieve the goal of your company, which is to make money. Again, I ask you, do employees come to work knowing they're on stage, responsible for performing a branded experience for each other and for your banking customers, one that will help you get and keep more profitable customers? Principle number 2, make happy employees to create engaged customers. Our next poll, employees are not your greatest asset. True or false? While that's coming in, I'll share a bit more here. Would it horrify you to know that only 48% of employees claim to be happy at work? What do we have? 80% say false. Employees are not your greatest asset. You're right on. Employees are not. You must have read the first book in Truth 7, Chapter 7 of the first book. Employees are not your greatest asset. Engaged employees who deliver your branded experience, they are your greatest asset. We can't just blanketly say employees are the greatest asset when the research shows that 71% of Americans are not engaged or actively disengaged, which is worse. They're emotionally disconnected and less likely to be productive. 71% of Americans are not engaged or actively disengaged. You should be thinking at this point, how engaged is our workforce? Because the reality is, a lack of an engaged workforce is a debilitating disease. And if you had a debilitating disease in your body, what would you do? You would take care of it right away. The definition of debilitating is something that interferes with the activity of daily living. Well, I ask you, doesn't a disengaged employee interfere with the activity of daily work? Remember the purpose of your bank. It's to get and keep profitable customers. You need engaged employees to optimally achieve your purpose. Bain Consulting proved this in a study they did where they went out to executives and asked one question: does your business provide superior customer service? Quite often, executives tend to be a little out of touch with how engaged people really are and how great the service really is. 81% of executives said, yes, we deliver superior customer service. They went out to the customers of those companies, and what they found was quite interesting. The service looked a lot more like this. Only 8% of those customers answered yes to we receive superior customer service from said company. So what do engaged customers want? I recently read a banking study that was very interesting and appears to be spot on with respect to what banking customers want from their banks. You're going to find it's not all that different from other industries. The study says bank customers want 5 things: efficiency, showing respect for my time; resolve my problems quickly; number 3, share knowledge and expertise; number 4, create relevancy, pay attention to my individual needs; and number 5, build trust by having my best financial needs at heart. Folks, these are the same competencies you would expect to see in any service industry. Again, you need engaged employees to deliver them. You need engaged employees to deliver efficiency, resolve problems, get people to share knowledge and expertise proactively, to pay attention to the financial needs the way that your customers most want it. There's never been a better opportunity to get the entire workforce aligned and engaged and focused on performing the experience your customers want most. So let's get into how to engage the workforce. Principle number 3, don't just announce your culture, you have an opportunity to make it visible. Our next poll, does your bank have a set of clearly documented core values? If you have core values, the next question to be asking is, do you have clearly documented behaviors behind those values? What do we have for the poll coming back? 30% no, 70% yes. Fantastic. 70% of you have clearly defined core values. So I ask you, are those values integrated with clearly defined behaviors into your hiring practices, making sure you find the best fit employees beyond just technical capabilities? Is their personality a good fit with your culture? Are you onboarding the new employees? And once hired, beyond the training, beyond the training program, how are your employees indoctrinated with those values? Are the core values part of the performance review process? Are managers prepared to hold the difficult yet very necessary conversations when someone's not living the values? And do they hold those conversations? And are managers able to make strategic decisions based on those values? By integrating the values into these types of employee performance systems, leading banks are making the branded experience in their culture truly visible. They're going way beyond just announcing the culture. Those who are simply announcing the culture and hoping that employees are going to become engaged with it, they're missing the opportunity to make it truly visible, to create a mindset, a powerful mindset around those core values for the branded experience. And you'll notice I use those terms interchangeably. They're one and the same. To outbehave the competition, you must take those core values off the walls and get them into the hearts and minds of employees, which brings us to the mindset that the best companies define as part of their living the brand system, that first step of defining what the brand really is and what it means to live it. The mindset is the primary ingredient to influencing behavior. Our mindset drives what we think about. It's made up of opinions and attitudes that guide our actions. Companies with engaged status make the mindset visible. They get all employees to live the brand by first ensuring employees know what it is and that they do it. Let me give you an example. I was speaking at a conference and playing the One Company You Love game, and someone said, I love my hardware store. I asked why. They said, because when I come in, they give me this fantastic greeting and ask me if I need any help. The person next to him said, I hate when my hardware store does that. Different hardware stores, by the way. Let's call the first hardware store ABC Hardware. The person at the door there is doing the exact same behavior as the person in XYZ Hardware Store. Same behavior. When you walk in, their role is to be the greeter of some kind. Except at ABC Hardware, there's a little bit of a different mindset. The mindset is, welcome, can I help you find something? At XYZ Hardware, the person's mindset at the door is, it's my job to sit here and say hi to people. I ask you, how is this different than the teller greeting at your bank? When you get into that rote, next, can I help you? Versus truly having a mindset such as, welcome, we're glad you're here. Powerful mindsets are ones that are intuitive, something everyone should think in your organization, inspirational and aspirational, and most importantly, are easy to remember and repeat. We found it's best to create experienced mindsets in 7 words or less that together make a statement that influence the way people think about the delivery of your bank's experience. I have a question coming in here. Isn't our mission statement a form of a mindset? Usually not. Why? Because mission statements are too long. They're difficult for everyday employees to keep top of mind. Again, mindset. A solid mindset needs to be easy to remember and repeat. Mindsets provide the alignment and thought that leads to the consistency of behavior, which leads to consistency of the experience. And the reality is, if you don't define your company's mindset, employees are going to use their own. Principle number 4, how do you sprint from culture talk to culture change? You must have the behaviors to make that happen. If you're not managing behaviors, folks, you're simply not managing your brand. All you can do is market your brand. You can tell people about it. Remember the one company you love exercise we just went through? We read Amazon was one of them, Apple, Nordstrom. They all get that they must manage behavior to manage the brand. You can window dress the look and feel of your bank and call it a brand, or you can truly define the non-negotiable behaviors that guide how people act and interact every day towards each other at work and with your customers. So what are non-negotiable behaviors? Allow me to share with you some interesting information about behaviors from a study on your industry, in the banking industry, called Creating the Ultimate Bank Experience. There were 18 different behavioral areas that bank customers said were important. But rated last, interestingly, was smile and greet customers in a friendly manner. Why is this rated last? Maybe because it's considered in this day and age to be table stakes. It's a given. The banking customer is comparing their experience to the other retail outlets where they simply expect this behavior. Nordstrom, Wegmans, Amazon, they're comparing their bank experience to places that are excelling in the customer experience. It doesn't mean that it's not critically important to smile and greet customers in a friendly manner. Imagine if that behavior was absent. It would be a horrible experience. However, there are many other behaviors that banking customers rated as even more important to their experience. Behaviors that any bank looking to deliver a more consistent and profitable experience should look to define for employees as part of their living the brand system. Some of the other behaviors noted well above and beyond in importance than smile and greeting in a friendly manner were sharing knowledge and expertise, demonstrating a sincere interest in my needs, actively listening to me and identifying opportunities to help me, being enthusiastic about your offerings. On the screen, I've just pulled up some of the non-negotiable behaviors some of our banking clients have created over time. A few of them to note. Yeah, of course, greeting clients with warmth but genuine interest and a smile, of course. Acknowledge requests and communicate a timeline for resolution, prioritizing and execute the most important tasks first. These are non-negotiable behaviors you'd want to see in any bank enterprise. The most important question you can ask once you've defined your non-negotiable behaviors is, can you take those non-negotiable behaviors from common sense to common practice? Be cautious. Some individuals may get stuck falsely believing that behaviors are too elementary. It's easy to fall into that common sense trap where you feel that behaviors are so simple it might be insulting to have to put them on paper. This is a dangerous stance, and it should be immediately addressed. When you have the opportunity to rescue people from the common sense trap, throw them a helpful line asking them, does everyone do the behavior consistently? Of course, the answer is going to most likely be no. Mr. This is too elementary will soon recognize that just because a behavior is common sense does not give your bank the permission to not document it clearly as part of your living the brand system. Last year, our organization was working with a team of executives. We were introducing the non-negotiable behaviors created by their leaders. The CEO called the behaviors motherhood and apple pie. Fortunately, we had also done a survey amongst the management in the organization and learned that on an importance scale of 1 to 10, the average rating of importance for the behaviors fell between an 8.5 and a 9.5. However, we also had them rate how consistently is the behavior being done in our organization. In the average consistency rating on a 0 to 10 scale, 10 being highly consistent, was somewhere between 4 and 6, showing that the behaviors are critically important, but not consistently done. The point of the story is that it doesn't matter how elementary or motherhood and apple pie the behaviors are. What matters is whether or not the behaviors are important to your success, and whether or not you can get employees to realize that they are on stage responsible for performing the behaviors for each other and for customers. Help all employees understand that by knowing and doing your non-negotiable behaviors, you are fulfilling your bank's purpose to get and keep more profitable customers. Before we move on, stop for a moment and just imagine a perfect world where your bank has its core values and branded experience clearly defined. 70% of you said you have the core values, but they're clearly defined. You have a clear mindset and a set of behaviors behind them. You've accomplished the initial step now of defining the branded experience for your bank. In fact, you've communicated it out to the entire workforce. You've done the big announcement. You've done the pep rally. Now you have this great opportunity to bring the Living the Brand system to life. You can now begin to get all of your managers doing the necessary reminding and quantifying of the branded experience. As you get started, you've got to keep in mind, though, that the pep rallies alone won't be enough. Pep rallies don't work when it comes to gaining buy-in. You've seen this movie before, right? Either in your current bank or a previous job. The company has a new set of core values or a new brand promise that it wants every employee to know about and embrace. So the CEO does the roadshow, begins with live presentations, recorded voicemails, video presentations, webinars. They announce the grandiose plans and explain what the core values are and why you should care. But then they don't have the necessary ongoing expectation setting, continued communications, and accountabilities in place to truly make it stick. They don't have the Living the Brand system of defining it, reminding it, and quantifying it. The pep rally turns out to be nothing more than a bunch of happy talk. It sounds insightful and in some cases quite motivating. However, when you get back to the office and realize that nothing has really changed and there are no measures in place to create visibility or track progress, then naturally nothing positive results. In fact, pep rallies filled with happy talk can do quite a bit more harm than good, as employees see it as another example of wasted time and resources along with a disingenuous attempt to make positive change happen. If you just announce your culture with pep rallies and rah-rah events, it becomes invisible. And before you know it, these energized employees begin to look like these folks. Doubt increases, commitment and motivation decreases, trust in management is diminished. The pep rally can create unengaged employees when it does not have a Living the Brand system in place behind it. A system for reminding and quantifying the branded experience, your values in action. Pep rallies without the necessary mindset and behavior change can create more disengaged employees, and they are often very, very difficult to spot. Unfortunately for all of us, these disengaged employees, they don't show up every day carrying a sign that says, "I stopped trying." Here's the secret to success for implementing a branded experience with engaged people. Getting beyond the pep rallies and the CEO, "You are our greatest asset" speech. It's not that difficult. As a manager, you need to focus on this one little secret. It starts with this. Only 1% of your success will come from training your people on the branded experience and announcing it to the workforce. Now, I share that with you knowing that in 99% of the companies we meet, they put 90% of their effort or more into telling people what the values are when they hire them, when they onboard them, once in a while throughout the course of the year. Training people, training people and trying to teach it, 1% of your success. 99% of your success will come from reminding employees. Think about it. How many times per day or week or month do you have the opportunity to remind people of the branded experience? How many times per year should managers and supervisors be reminding others? The remaining 4 principles are all focused on how to remind the workforce about the branded experience and quantify it. When we get to principle 8, we will get into ways you can create thousands of reminders in your workforce throughout the course of the year, depending on the size of your workforce. Our next poll. My organization does a culture survey at least once every 18 months. Yes or no? Principle 5 here. Quantify your culture to turn common sense into common practice. You've got to quantify the culture if you want to turn the common sense into common practice. The answer to the poll is through. My organization does a culture survey at least once every 18 months. 70% said false. So you're not doing it once a year, so you're not doing it all that often, which means this is even more valuable to you because you have no measurement, some of you, on how to quantify the culture. So I ask you a few more questions here. Does your culture survey, for those that have done it, or for those of you that aren't using one, may have done one 24 months ago or 36 months ago, but answer these questions. Does your culture survey measure behavior consistency? Are you getting a clear picture of how engaged your workforce is? as I take you through Principle 5, how to quantify your culture to turn those common sense behaviors into common practice, take the time to really think about how valuable is your current employee survey approach or past ones you've done years ago. What did you do with the results? How are they shared and acted upon from branch to branch? How are the results communicated and shared throughout your entire bank, from the nighttime janitorial crew to the C-suite? Allow me to introduce you to an approach called the Living the Brand Assessment. To manage the experience, managers need a way to predict where are employees most living the brand and where are they not. The Living the Brand Assessment provides a way for managers in your bank to determine how well the workforce knows the branded experience and how consistently they do it, as well as how to understand the engaged status for any specific area of your bank. It's a short 10-minute assessment. You conduct it twice a year as part of a Living the Brand system. It becomes a powerful way to remind the workforce to outbehave the competition and create customer love. It enables you to quantify the culture. And it is a simple assessment that can be conducted with a variety of off-the-shelf survey tools. Before I share the simple yet accurate, powerful metrics, it is important to point out two important viewpoints that are the foundation for the Living the Brand assessment. First, the only true employee-driven measure of whether the workforce is living the brand is the viewpoint of others. Think about it. The best and maybe the only way to find out from the workforce how consistently your branded experience, your values and action, how consistently they are being delivered is to get the perspective of others in your work area and to gather that information in a rock-solid, confidential way. Asking bank employees their perspective of others they work with is the best measure because it's what the employees know. It's their opinion based on their experience working in their branch, working with their colleagues to deliver a banking experience, or working alongside colleagues to not deliver an ideal banking experience. Of course, for every employee in your bank to trust this approach, it has to be confidential. There are plenty of survey technologies that can easily protect the confidentiality of the employee's perspective. Confidentiality is a must, or all bets are off with respect to validity. The second foundational viewpoint is every manager is responsible for evaluating the performance of the experience. The folks on the line that are leaders in HR, you'll love this. This means you cannot pigeonhole the responsibility in HR to gather all the survey data collected from employees and find ways to make sense of it all and share it back with the workforce. This simply does not work. You must make it every branch manager's job to review the data, form insights, and share them back with their workforce. So let's get into the two ways to quantify your culture and turn common sense behaviors into common practice. Two great ways to measure whether your bank's branded experience is being delivered. First, have each employee rate how consistently others in their work area are living it. Have them rate your non-negotiable behaviors. Earlier, 70% of you, and there's a lot of you on this call, said that a lot of companies are saying we have clearly defined core values. Great. Then if you have non-negotiable behaviors behind them, have people rate how consistently they're being done. For those of you, the 30% that did not have the defined values, at the end today, I'll share with you how you can get a hold of our behavior model that will help you in defining those values. Second, find out how engaged employees are in each branch and department. And here's how you do that. Use the Engaged Index. Here are the indicators that our clients are having tremendous success with as the Engaged Index is deployed. We've been using these 4 questions to help leading companies understand how engaged their workforce is. And here are the 4 questions. Assuming that a friend or family member is looking for a new job and qualifies for an open position, how likely is it that you would recommend your bank as a place to work? Assuming that a friend or family member is interested in your bank's products and services, how likely are you to recommend them? Putting the assumption up front is critical to getting the most valid response from your workplace as an indicator of how engaged they are. The third question, and our clients love this one more than all others, how likely are you to stay with our bank if offered a similar job elsewhere for slightly higher pay? How likely are you to go above and beyond what is expected when given the opportunity to do so? Now listen, you can't simply count on just one indicator or measure. No single indicator can provide the whole story or even a precise story of your current reality. This is an important takeaway because it is really easy to get emotional and overreact to any given score for any given indicator or question. However, the Engaged Index provides a few indicators that, when taken together, tell an incredibly accurate story about what is really going on throughout your bank as a whole and within each branch or department. The Employee Engaged Index is a score that links to groups of employees indicating how motivated and committed they are to acting in the best interest of your bank. I had you write that down early on in our webinar. An engaged employee is someone who's motivated and committed to act in the best interest of your bank. The Engaged Index is a simple calculation by taking the net score of the least engaged and subtracting it from the most engaged. You need to take the least engaged and subtract it from the most engaged, otherwise you will falsely believe that you're more engaged than you really are. And those people that are not engaged, they diminish your work culture. So you must take them into consideration in the formula for determining how engaged branch B is versus branch A. There has never been a better opportunity to learn from employees the truth about what it is like to work at your bank, both pros and cons. In today's work environment, where 48% of employees are just not happy at work and not engaged as much as they possibly could be, you better believe they're willing to share their perspective. Too many companies are focused, though, on ineffective ways of gathering employee satisfaction and engagement data. Many collect piles of culture survey data not knowing what to do with it, and the reality is satisfaction doesn't matter anywhere as much as how engaged people are. If your bank tellers are highly satisfied but not acting in the best interest of your bank, then you're in trouble. If, however, they're acting in the best interest of your bank, chances are very likely they are more than just satisfied. As a manager and leader, you will find this approach will create superior visibility as to which managers are making efforts to manage the experience and which ones, well, are not. Allow me to share with you an example of a financial services firm. Their challenge was high employee turnover, flat revenue year over year. So what did they do? They refined their company values with simple non-negotiable behaviors. They instituted a semi-annual survey to measure how consistently people were seeing the behaviors and how engaged their people are. They created a values and action employee recognition program to catch examples of people living the values and share them. Their results: in 2 short years, they witnessed a 29-point increase in their engaged score, a 92% drop in unwanted employee turnover, which was a manual calculation that meant a lot to this organization. They also witnessed a 58% drop in employee turnover overall. And from a revenue perspective, a 17% increase in revenue per billable employee and a 15% increase in revenue per full-time employee, which they can show the trends and connections to their engaged score and behavior consistency. You can compare your engaged index and behavior to a lot of different metrics. On the revenue side, you might be thinking about number of active products per customer. You may think about customers per frontline full-time employee. Maybe it's assets per full-time employee or deposit growth or loan growth. On the cost side, maybe you're looking at employee turnover or unwanted turnover, or how long it takes to fill a job, or absenteeism. There are many different cost avoidance and cost reduction metrics, as well as revenue generating metrics you can compare your engaged index to. If you want to find out how engaged employees are in your workforce, don't log off early. At the end of our time, I'm going to share with you the Living the Brand Leadership Assessment. You'll have an opportunity to learn management's perspective of how engaged your workforce is, whether they're living the brand, and how the customer experience is impacted. If you take the time to be on a webinar like this, you want amazing value. The Living the Brand Leadership Assessment is how I can provide that value to you. And based on your relationship with Salesforce International and your participation on this webinar, this will be offered complimentary for the next 30 days. I'll tell you more about this at the very end. Let's get on to principle number 6. Any monkey can survey. Start building relationships with your customers. I am continuously amazed at how easy it is to move interacting with customers, learning from them, and taking action on results to the bottom of the priority list. It's true. I've done it. You've probably done it too. I find this interesting since connecting with customers enables our company and yours to fulfill the purpose, creating more profitable and engaged customers. Having quality conversations with bank customers enables you to learn firsthand about when your bank is living the brand and outbehaving the competition and when it's not. If you play your cards right, a healthy relationship and a well-planned conversation will enable you to get referrals that drive more sales. Market tools. The creators of Zoomerang, which is one of the best and simplest survey tools on the market. You can use Zoomerang for any of the types of surveys I'm talking about today. They conducted a research study and learned that 98% of companies collect feedback from their customers, yet only 8% follow up to do something about it. Here lies the problem. Sending out the survey is easy. Inviting customers, though, to give feedback and then effectively following up to uncover opportunities is much more difficult, and that is why such a small percentage of companies do it. Why is this a problem? Think about it. How many surveys are you asked to take each week? In this day and age, the technology and tools such as Zoomerang or SurveyMonkey, they make it so easy to survey customers. The result, we as consumers feel the constant bombardment. We are tuning out. The research shows that only 10% of consumers even respond to this type of constant badgering for feedback. This alone makes you question the validity of the data you're receiving. If you have multi-question, lengthy surveys that you're sending out to your customers, you can't even depend on the validity of that data, not to mention you're annoying your customers. However, if you take a different approach, one focused on building stronger, more profitable relationships with customers, you can begin to drive business results with a quality conversation. Because every single time you reach out to customers and have a quality conversation, you're positioning your company for at least one of 3 positive outcomes. But this requires that you decrease your sample size, you target a few customers that are the most important to your organization or the ones you most want to learn from. Because the first benefit of a quality conversation is you can learn something that helps fix a problem. You can learn about and share a success with the workforce, helping employees to feel appreciated and see the results of the branded experience that they're delivering. And you can ring the register by engaging in upselling and cross-selling conversations. More times than you would expect, you actually have the ringing of the register driven by the customers themselves. Everyone has a register to ring. It's about positioning yourself to be able to ring that register. Having a quality conversation does not require tons of surveys. In fact, a small sample set with a very thoughtful invite in a very, very, very short survey is all you need to position the what else, who else question. More times than not, your customers are really happy with the experience they are having and would be willing to make a referral. When you follow up with customers to learn what it is that they like about your bank, or what you can do to fix a problem that they have shared, it gives you the permission to say to them, "Glad you're happy, Mr. Customer. What else can we do for you?" Or who else do you know that would benefit from the great experience you consistently have with our bank? Let me give you an example. A professional service firm wanted to learn from their customers about the experience they were having with a new product and service. So they built a targeted list of the decision makers, some influencers, and users of the product and service, and they invited them to take a very short 3-minute or less survey about the experience. Not one of those, this is going to take 5 or 10 minutes and it really takes 30 minutes, but a very short survey. They then conducted follow-up quality conversations with the respondents. The outcomes of this effort are quite impressive. They achieved a 61% response rate with that very meaningful, thoughtful invite, of which they followed up with more than 75% of them having a quality conversation. They held the what else, who else conversations with the great majority of customers, which led to either cross-selling or upselling opportunities. In fact, over 100% of the conversations resulted in either a referral or a cross-selling or an upselling opportunity. According to J.D. Power's studies on the banking industry, banks can increase incremental deposit growth by 3% annually with only a 5% increase in their highly committed customers. So I ask you this, how much more committed will your customers be if you had a program in place to make sure that every branch manager was reaching out and speaking to at least 2 customers every week about their experience? Positioning yourself for the what else, who else question drives sales to ring that register. Principle 7, put the carrots away. Rewards, they don't work the way you think they do. Managers who master the skill set of genuinely and proactively recognizing people are able to most effectively remind employees of what it takes to live the brand. If you have it defined, recognizing people effectively is an amazing way to remind the workplace. Our next poll, true or false? I am genuinely good at recognizing people for their great work, and I do it often enough. I'm genuinely good at recognizing people for their great work, and I do it often enough. True or false? And while those are coming in, write this down. Appreciation is the strongest currency in your corporate culture. Appreciation is the strongest currency in your culture. 75% of you are saying true, and a little less than 25, or just about 75%. 25% are saying false. If that was true and you really are that good, this would be the most amazing group of people ever assembled when it comes to recognition. Because all too often you see signs that are funny, but indicating what's really going on in the marketplace. This one comes out of a bank. Doing a good job here is like wetting your pants in a dark suit. You get a warm feeling and no one else notices. However, so if you have this sign in your work area, then your branch may not be leveraging appreciation as that strong cultural currency. However, most of you indicated, almost 75% said yes. Going back to the 1940s, studies have shown that what motivates people at work includes understanding how they make a difference and feeling recognized and appreciated for doing a good job. If you throw in relationship with my boss into the mix, you also have what are typically the top 3 reasons why someone is loyal to his or her employer. So why the constant focus on rewards? It's not what motivates. It's not what people have been craving. Plain and simple, reward programs don't work to drive financial results the way many leaders think they do. We've been conditioned to think of rewards and recognition as a pair that must go together when in fact, quite often, they don't. I'm not suggesting that you should forget about rewards and not ever have reward programs. I'm simply suggesting that your company will get much greater value out of the power of recognition and much less from the actual rewards, and that the two don't need to go together to be effective. We see it every day in the success of our clients. It is amazing to see how they change the conversation to focus on results. Here's another example of a professional service firm. Their challenge was that they had this desire to improve the employee and customer experience. They wanted to get everyone focused on a mindset of customers for life. They lacked any formal recognition program in the past that tried to depend on rewards as a way to improve culture. So what did they do? They clearly defined the branded experience with a clear company mindset focused on getting customers for life and a clear and concise set of company-wide non-negotiable behaviors. They implemented a strategic recognition program for capturing and sharing best practices in above and beyond moments. They made it easy for employees to submit these captured successes via mobile phones, a call center call-in line, and through a dedicated website. They made it a point to have managers at every one of their locations share one example every week. Here's the results of their efforts doing strategic recognition. 82% of their workforce actively participated in the program. That's pretty amazing when you take into consideration they have 1,500 employees. They had 4,250 successes captured in the first year. And the ultimate result, they witnessed in the first year a $5 million increase in customer retention. And there were no rewards, just recognition as the strongest currency in their culture. Leading organizations like the example I just gave are using what really motivates people. Respect and appreciation through the capturing and sharing of best practices. They don't get tricked like many do by the vendors in the reward industry into implementing half-baked programs that do not hit on the true drivers of motivation. These vendors, they go as far as marketing their reward programs as employee performance drivers and, get this, culture-changing programs. These traditional reward programs include service or tenure awards, bonuses, and prizes or gifts for hitting business targets. These programs typically have such low participation. Most I've seen range from 10 to 20% participation at the most. How could they possibly have an impact, a positive impact on their culture and improve that culture with such low participation? If you design a strategic recognition program, you should expect at least 90% participation in a professional service setting. And remember, once again, appreciation is the strongest currency in your culture. You have an incredible opportunity to truly engage the workforce and get them focused on outbehaving the competition, living your brand when you begin to focus more on recognition and less on rewards. And when we're talking about a living the brand system, you've defined it. Recognition is a great way to remind people, and when you track the participation of managers and employees from department to department, from branch to branch, you're now quantifying the experience as well. Our last principle, managing the experience builds trust in you as a leader. As a manager, it is your job to make sure the company experience is part of the day-to-day conversation. If you've got core values, as a manager, you need to make sure those values align with your core values and that you're talking about those values. Making the branded experience part of the conversation every day is one of the best ways to build trust and manage the experience. Learning how, it's a leadership skill to be studied, practiced, and mastered over time. Again, think about the number of times every day, week, and month you can have the opportunity to remind people and engage them with the branded experience, with your core values at your bank. You may be surprised at how frequently you can spark a conversation that helps reinforce the importance of living the brand. Your values, that branded experience, that's your brand. Would you believe me if I told you that you can reach at least 150 reminders per manager per year? Recently, I was speaking in front of a group of 135 managers. We listed off all the different ways that you can remind people, and we listed off how many times it made sense that on average each of them could do them. For instance, holding performance reviews. They determined in this group it was about each manager on average had about 10 employees that reported to them. There were a total of 1,200 people in this organization. So that's 10 performance reviews. We talked about team meetings. They're all in a team meeting at least once a week. That's 50 more reminders if they make the values part of the conversation, if they make a captured success a part of the conversation. If they would capture a success and share it once a week, that's 50 more. If they gathered a dozen or so pieces of customer feedback within any given year, there's 10 or 12 more. If they were having those difficult conversations, maybe 4 or 5 of those a year. We added them all up, and at the end of the day, there were 166 reminders that these managers, 135 of them, realized, yes, we can do that. That's 22,410 reminders across a workforce of 1,200 people. That's almost 20 reminders per person. Now that's living the brand. That's managing the experience. And it's very eye-opening to senior leaders when they think about how many times their managers can remind people about living the brand. Just yesterday I was on the phone with Oppenheimer Funds, with their senior executive of HR. They have 300 managers. We went through and did the same exercise, came up with 150 different ways that they could remind the workforce. That's 45,000 reminders, of which they realized pretty quickly probably not happening anywhere near as much as you might think. As managers of a bank, of course you're focused on the financial metrics. So in our last principle here, before we wrap up, think about what metrics you can bring to the forefront that will enable you to more clearly see a 360 view of the impact of the branded experience. We've covered some of the customer metrics like cross-selling and upselling and retention and referrals. On the employee side, you can be measuring how engaged the workforce is, as well as how consistently the workforce is living the brand. We talked about metrics like behavior consistency and the engaged index. What financial metrics make the most sense to compare to the customer and employee experience to provide the ideal 360 view of your bank? What metrics matter most? Again, is it assets per full-time employee or deposit growth or return on equity or loan growth? On the cost reduction or avoidance side, are you going to compare employee turnover, unwanted turnover, absenteeism, time to fill a job? Maybe it's employee complaints. Maybe you're tracking legal expense. This 360 view will help keep the branded experience high on the radar as one of the most critical drivers of success for your bank. It's this type of 360-degree review that weaves the branded experience into your bank's culture, ensuring it drives the customer experience as management and employees begin to make the connection between their actions, the customer experience, and the impact it actually has on the bank. Before my closing remarks, allow me to do two more things. First, I'm going to tell you about a terrific offer to find out how engaged your management believes your bank workforce is. And second, I will field any burning questions you may have specific to the topics I've just covered. When you attend a webinar like this, one of your goals is to maximize your take-home value. Let me share with you one of the ways I can help you maximize your take-home value. Based on your relationship with SalesSource and your participation in this webinar, you have a unique opportunity to have your management team take the Living the Brand Leadership Assessment. There are 3 reasons you will find this to be an amazing value. First, you will learn with tremendous precision management's perspective on how motivated and committed the workforce is to acting in the best interest of your bank. Second, this simple report will summarize for you the strengths and weaknesses with respect to living your brand, living your values. You will clearly see how consistently management believes employees and leaders demonstrate the common sense, hopefully common practice behaviors required to outbehave your competition. And third, you will get the entire Achieving Brand Integrity behavior model for both employees and management, which you can then customize for your bank. What's really exciting about this is that in working with SalesSource, we've been able to have the $2,500 fee for the Living the Brand assessment and analysis by our team waived if you take it by February 14th. This assessment is simple to take, less than 10 minutes for each of your managers, and it's even easier for you to administer. We're nearing the end of our time together. Before my closing remarks, I'd like to say thank you to SalesSource International, Dan Maslick and Pat Cahill for inviting me to be on today's webinar and for being able to provide the Living the Brand Leadership Assessment offer to everyone who joined us. Each of you will be provided with a copy of today's presentation as well as a link to register for the Living the Brand Leadership Assessment. It will come via email from Terry Owen, a member of my executive team. Terry will be available for any additional questions or comments you may have. My final dose of insight for you to take away from today. An experience is being delivered over and over and over again all day long at your bank. The question is your bank managing a branded experience so that it is delivered consistently, enabling your bank to outbehave the competition? Folks, I want to give a great big shout out to thanks to all of you for joining me on this journey through the 8 principles to engage. I will say goodbye now to those of you who are going to log off and head to your next meeting. For those of you with questions, I would gladly take a few now. And if we don't get bombarded with questions here, by all means, you can email. Terry will be reaching out to you. You can send in any questions you have, and I will send a personalized response to any one of them. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.